Welcome Audrey down.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you, and I love watching all of you eating pan dulce. My story is tied to pan dulce. My grandfather immigrated to this country for a better life, like most immigrants do. Came to Los Angeles from the Tijuana area and opened up a panaderia in Boyle Heights on the east side of Los Angeles. And it was the work that his father did, and it was the work that his father did that really provided the stability for our family to grow and thrive. It was the proceeds from that panaderia that allowed my grandfather to bring my dad to this country when my dad was 10 years old. And my dad always tells this funny story that when he was 18 years old and about to graduate from high school, he went to my grandfather and said, well, I'm ready to take over the bakery. I'm gonna, happy to step up, get a little pay. Maybe you can, work fewer hours. And my grandfather told him, no, that's not what's going to happen. The work that I do has put food on our table. The work that I do has put a roof over our head, and I'm proud of the work that we do here at the bakery. But I didn't come here to this country for that, for you to continue this work. There's something out there that's different for you. And I don't know what that is, but it's not this. And so my grandfather said, no, you will not be joining the family business. And what I think about is that was such a transformative and pivotal moment for the Diaz family, my family. But for my dad, as an 18-year-old, he was in a panic because he didn't know what he was gonna do next. He was attending Garfield High School in East Los Angeles, which is also my alma mater. And no one was thinking about college opportunity for him. No one was thinking about, the fact that he was really bright and good at math and good at science and maybe could have been an engineer or gone into, different things. No one was thinking about that. So like most 18-year-olds, he went and he talked to his friends and said, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you getting jobs? Where are you going? And he happened to have one friend who said, hey, dude, this weekend, I'm going over to LA Trade Tech and I'm gonna sign up for some classes. Do you wanna come? And my dad said, sure, why not? So my dad went. LA Trade Tech was having kind of a fair to show their different majors that were available and different programs. And he ended up signing up for a 1-year certificate program to be an electrical technician. And that's what he ended up doing. He got a journeyman appointment and he was an apprentice at Bethlehem Steel and then American Bridge and then the Aluminum Company of America. That 1-year certificate transformed his life. He was able to get a good union job where he had health benefits, where he was able to save for retirement, where he had a little bit of vacation time and sick time in a way that my grandfather never had. He was able to buy a home in East LA that is probably one day gonna be my legacy and the inheritance he gives to me and my sister. And so not even with a college degree, and I know that you're all members of the choir here, we know the power, the transformational power of higher education. I was in college and graduated from college in 1997, and it was a year after Proposition 209 had passed. And I remember those years very vividly, and the way that I was at institutions that were primarily white, and I did get looked at by students as, oh, there's that scholarship kid. There's that affirmative action kid. And it wasn't something I heard when I first got to campus, but the rhetoric and the tone in California and the divisiveness that was happening at that time in the 90s was ugly, and it was permeating our campuses. And it really sat with me of like, wow, do I not belong here? Am I not smart? And the answer was no. No. I was smart and I did belong there. And our students today, and that's my main message for you, and I know that's why you're all here, is that our students are talented. Talent is distributed equally across all of our communities, but opportunity is not, right? When we talk about, because we're going to hear a lot about this, oh, without affirmative action, now we can have a truly merit-based admission system. And it's not a merit-based admission system that we have in California or in this country. We reward people for being affluent. We reward people for essentially being white and not have been subject to years of exclusion and segregations and policies that have created a built environment where individuals cannot thrive. Even today, you know, when students from the Valley, when students from the east side of Los Angeles or the south side of Los Angeles or the San Joaquin Valley, when those students want to go into a computer science program, but their high school doesn't offer a single computer science course, well, guess what? They might get overlooked in admission in favor of the kid who's at a private school who maybe was able to take AP computer science and maybe an intro to engineering course and all of those other things. That has nothing to do with whether or not that student is competitive, whether or not that student can learn and is talented. It has everything to do with their zip code. It has everything to do with how under-resourced our K-12 system continues to be. And so I was particularly fond of the quote that Justice Ketanji Brown wrote in this SFFA decision in her dissent, where she said, "Deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in life." And I think we all can agree with that. Just because we're not looking at it in law does not mean that race and ethnicity are not playing huge factors in who is going to college and who is not. And so what I want to spend the rest of my time talking about, because I know your fearless leader is Irene, and I know that you are here to take action. And so we have had lessons learned in California since Proposition 209. And there are things that can be done within the confines of the law that are critical for ensuring our students, that Black and Brown and Native American students, Southeast Asian students, have real college opportunity. And I hope you'll take some of these suggestions to heart and think about as you leave here, what might be some of these practices that you can be responsible for leading here in your region. And so I'm going to start off with a series of recommendations around college preparation. Do all of your high schools here in the San Fernando Valley automatically give students the college preparatory curriculum that allows them to be eligible for our Cal State system and our UC system? That curriculum is called A to G. And we know that when we look at Latinos across the state, fewer than 60% of Latino high school graduates have completed that curriculum, meaning they cannot even apply to the CSU or UC systems. They can't even apply, let alone be competitive. Why are we misaligned with what is required for UC and CSU admission and what is required to graduate from high school? Why are we misaligned? That's inherently racist and should be changed, and we should be pushing our districts to have that as the default curriculum, but also ensure that our students can be successful in those courses, that we have the teachers who can teach, that we have the counselors to provide wraparound supports for our students to make sure that they can be successful. We need to make sure that we have expanded high-quality math offerings. You know, it's kind of a default for big four-year universities, the UC, although it's not a requirement, but if students don't take AP Calculus, try getting into a STEM major. It's probably not gonna happen. Try taking a major in the health fields. Probably not gonna happen. But there's no evidence that AP Calculus or calculus in general is required to be successful in those majors. So why don't we start employing other opportunities to really strengthen quantitative reasoning? Can we think about data science? Can we think about statistics? Can we think about other courses that help students grow in their reasoning skills without excluding them from, again, college opportunity? We still need to support our students with the FAFSA. The biggest barrier we hear from our communities about going to college is affordability. And sometimes it's the sticker shock of what we see, and more often than not, it's the actual cost of tuition and fees for our colleges and universities, but then the cost of living. I mean, sometimes students, and we tell them, right, it is affordable to go to a community college, and it is. It is affordable in terms of how much it costs to attend, that tuition, that fee for enrolling in a course. But when you figure that the financial aid a community college student is getting doesn't help them contribute fully to their housing, to their transportation necessarily, to their books, to their childcare, it's just insufficient, and it's a barrier. And we know that a lot of students are still leaving money, though, on the table, meaning they're not completing that FAFSA, that financial aid form that can share with them that they can have a Cal Grant, they can have a Pell Grant, they can have other resources. I'm really pleased to share that there is a law that passed 2 years ago that now requires high schools to help all graduating seniors complete the FAFSA. And in just that short amount of time, we've actually seen California's high school rate of completion of the FAFSA move from just a little over 50% to 72% as of this last week, which is huge, which is a really huge increase. How are you doing here in the Valley? You can go online to the California Student Aid Commission and look up your high schools individually. You can look up your districts individually and see how FAFSA completion is looking and where might there be opportunity there to support our students to fill out what is still a cumbersome and kind of scary form. I also want to talk about dual enrollment. It's maybe something you've heard a lot about, but this gives students an opportunity to be in high school while also taking classes at the community colleges. Locally, there is really an infusion of resources coming from the state to do this type of effort. It's a great way for students to experience college level rigor, to be on a college campus, and to be ahead of the game as college applicants and when they get in their courses. How is that panning out in this region? Are there equitable opportunities for dual enrollment? Are there support systems for students to be successful in dual enrollment classes? How do we make sure that students, we don't just get our students into these dual enrollment programs and then forget about them and we see them failing, and that ends up, not that they're failing, but our institutions failing them, and it ends up hurting them more than it helps. So how do we stay on top of that to hold our colleges and high schools accountable for student success in dual enrollment programs? I know Thomas shared a couple of practices around admissions that I think are our best practices. First of all, we do know that students should absolutely, and if you have a niece, a nephew, a child that's getting ready to apply to college, they should absolutely, in their personal statement, be uplifting their lived experiences and how being Latino, how being Black, how being potentially underrepresented has shaped the way they think, the way they see the value of a college education for them. There's nothing in the law that prohibits them from sharing that. And for any of you that are working in high schools and may be asked to write a letter of recommendation, there's nothing that prohibits you from sharing that as well, and that's important. There's also efforts, we continue to do outreach to underrepresented communities to go to college, and we should also be thinking about, again, programs that allow colleges and universities to think more holistically about the students that they're admitting. Practices that we know need to stop is the use of standardized tests. We know that at our UC and CSU system, you no longer have to take the SAT or ACT in order to be applicable, in order to be admitted. That's something that should be at all campuses and all universities. We know these tests are inherently biased. They are inherently racist. And those students who can afford to have tutors, those students that can afford to have coaches on how to take a test, not on the content, are the ones who end up scoring very, very high and leaving our communities behind. And those are some of the things that I think should be taken off. There are a number of other things that we can do, especially on our community college campuses, around ensuring there are clear pathways to and through college, making sure we've got a robust and strong transfer system, making sure we are not placing an abundance of students into remedial education courses, that day one we're placing them into college level math and English and doing everything we can to advance them toward their degree. Time is precious, as you know, for our students, because money is precious to them. Every day they're in our classrooms, they may not be working, or sometimes they are working and going to class, and we have to honor that at our institutions of higher education and do everything we can to ensure they're successful. So I hope I've given you some things to think about, especially again on the college preparation front. I know that Mission College is so fortunate to have Dr. Ornelas here leading this institution. I think we have to continue to uplift and elevate individuals like Dr. Ornelas that understand the community and will act with urgency. Because it's one thing to have leaders that can talk the talk, right? That are the rhetoric of equity, that are the rhetoric of diversity, and then kind of look at the challenge of underrepresentation and unequal access and say, well, we gotta be patient, that this will take maybe 10 years. Maybe we gotta wait 5 years to do something. But Dr. Ornelas is not that president, because she understands that we have to act with urgency today. And so you are in very good hands here, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say next. So thank you.